So yeah, it's been a while, right? So I'm trying to even think what has happened since. I don't even know when the last time live was. But basically, I had my arm surgery, so I don't know if I talked about that or not at this point. So basically, if I didn't talk about it, I don't remember. Basically, what happened is I had this nerve pain, thought it was tennis elbow from holding my daughter all the time, and then it just never went away. Turned out that there's basically an extra muscle near my elbow that basically, I guess, grew with my, holding my daughter all the time, and which I've noticed before when I was working out, I would start getting this pain as well. And so basically, there's this, extra muscle apparently that grew and then was pushing on this nerve, which making everything painful and fingers numb and like all this other kind of stuff. So anyway, got that done. And so basically now it's like 3 months. And so the last few weeks, it's been pretty crazy. Like we keep on adding more and more customers, which is awesome. But now what's happening is we're going through a lot of growing pains. And because before we were averaging like 8 to 10 orders, something like that a week, which was fine. Somewhere between, 2 to 3, 2 or 3 orders a day. Whereas like this week alone, I think there's like 14 so far. At least, no, there's at least 12. I think there's at least 12 orders for deliveries, and then there's at least 2 orders for pickups as of right this second. But then people, like today, someone called in and was like, hey, can I pick something up in like 2 hours? So we, rushed to get that to happen. So that's where we're at now. So now what's happening is we're in the middle. I wish I could do, at some point I'll have to do a video inside the warehouse, but ripped out a wall. I think I talked about that before. We're setting up all these stations so that we can handle this influx of business. Because like I've talked about in other videos, like there's the 4 things you need to know, which is how to get people to call you, basically know you exist, how to sell them jobs, how to produce the jobs, and then finally knowing your numbers, right? So as far as getting people to know we exist and then converting them into a customer, we're doing pretty damn good. There's a few big accounts that, we've been trying to get that they have not moved over yet. But like anything else, it's like, building building relationships and that kind of thing. So I'm doing what I know how to do, which is like email marketing, which is done on a pretty regular basis. And then from there, I'm going to start doing Facebook Lives and like YouTube Lives and that kind of thing. And that'll post on for this channel as well, which the one that we're going to be doing a live on Sunday is going to be basically how to increase the number of leads and booking more jobs during this slow period that we're in. Just because I've been talking to a bunch of contractors, because of this process, and like everyone's kind of in the same boat. Like everything's slowing down. People don't have the money. And then even if we didn't have those issues, honestly, a big problem that people are going to have is that, and people aren't talking about this, but I feel like it's it's part of the problem or part of the issue that we're going to be running up against is that, the last 2 years there was free money. The last 2 years, well, actually like 3 now. But people for a lot in the beginning weren't traveling a lot, right? So what was happening is they were spending that money that would have been on vacations and stuff like that, and going out to eat and all that kind of stuff. And now are spending, they spent that money on their home, right? Because they realize they're going to spend more and more time home, so they're buying, the pools and the upgrades and everything else. And simply put, a lot of things that they probably would have pushed off for a few more years, they end up, doing the project. So maybe they might have done them a few years sooner, right, than they normally would have. And especially because you have, because they're home, and then you throw in the free money, right? So it's going to happen. So even if we're not going into a recession, even if the inflation wasn't sky high and all these other things that are going against us, it's going to slow down. Like there's only so much work. But in the caveat, there's so much work out there, but there's been so many people that have been getting this work done, right? So like the piece of the pie is it's smaller, right? So I'll be doing Facebook Lives on that kind of thing. The biggest issue we're having right now is the production side of things, which happens pretty typical. It's typical, right? Because you get in this situation where you don't have any business, and then you start getting the business, and then it starts escalating quicker and quicker and quicker, and you're like, oh shit, like what do I do now? But for me, I'd much rather be in this situation than be like, oh, there's not enough business, right? And couple that with the increasing the amount of the work that's coming through, but now I can't lift anything for the next 3 months. So now it's like I'm relying on these other people, and like there's part of the problem is like as a new startup, a lot of times you're taking people in different positions and putting them in different spots, and sometimes they might be doing this, sometimes they might be doing that, and because of that you're never really gaining that momentum. At least that's how I feel right now. Because also we had the one girl and then me as the two main people. Well, now it's really just me trying to manage, but like, I'm trying to get my other stuff done so that way we can keep on increasing the number of, the customers that are coming through, the jobs that are coming through. And it's just tough to kind of manage in both spots. So my wife is talking, and she may be jumping in to kind of manage more of the warehouse, which she doesn't really have any experience in at this point. So, manage the production side of things, which they did come over to the location. So that's good. So we're working on that. And that's really about it at this point. So right now, what we're trying to do is to basically build a big conveyor belt, right? Metaphorically speaking. So it's getting used to doing the same things over and over and over. It's kind of like being like the McDonald's and everything else, like a military type setup where it's just, when the orders come in, like A, then B, then C, then D, then E, then F happens. Whereas right now it's like A and B get done, and then something comes up, and then we have to do C, D, E, and F, but that doesn't happen right away. So then it's a lot of starting, stopping, doing other things, figuring out like, okay, what needs to be done now, and then like it's just it's way more chaotic than it needs to be. And then what I keep on looking at and thinking about is that the spring at this point, a few days ago we were 33 contractors that we've delivered to. Now it's probably 30, 35, 36, something like that. Well, right now we're dealing with like I said, 8 to 10 orders this week. We're probably closer to 15, and we might be closer to 20 by the time everything's all said and done. And become springtime, like this realistically could be like 100, 150 orders. So like, what do you do then, right? And because we're looking at a bunch of things, like, and then I'm looking at the warehouse, I'm like, there's no freaking space. So now we keep on redoing what we're doing and trying to figure out what the hell we're gonna do, right? And it's definitely a struggle. This is where I wish I had someone that knew what they were doing, from the production standpoint. Which I've talked about in other videos as well. So I need to work on that and trying to talk to that individual some more. But it's also like I don't want to keep on reaching out and be like, hey, I'm trying to take value when they're not really, they're very helpful, awesome person in general. But it's like I don't want to be that, that mooch. Which that's kind of like my go-to fallback, which is kind of like figuring out the stuff on my own, just because it's all what I've always done, right? And so we're figuring that kind of stuff out, which is good and bad in some ways. It's bad because like someone that's got 20 years experience, they're like, no, just do it this way, right? Whereas some of the good things is like coming up with different ideas that just haven't been done before because they just haven't been done, right? So that's where we're working on some stuff, and like we have some things happening that should be pretty interesting. So that's where I'm at. So I just wanted to do a quick update. And but yeah, so what we're going to be doing going forward is basically we're going to test things, and then basically, okay, look at what we're doing, and we're going to make some changes, right? And then from there we're going to analyze the changes and then say, okay, did that work, didn't it work, or how do we make an improvement upon that, right? And we're just going to keep on doing it over and over and over again, knowing that we're not that far away from like the springtime. Like that's the thing I keep on telling the contractors. Like, you know, yeah, it sucks right now, but just realize you only have to get through a few months. Like it's not like it's gonna be winter forever. It's gonna be okay. Um, but like it's scary to think about the springtime coming and not being ready for that. So that's something we're actively working on like every single day, and just being better and smarter about it. So anyway, hope you guys have an awesome day. If you need anything, I'm really not available. Not that that really helps, but not that really anyone asks for help anyway. But if you need anything, let me know. I'll try to produce videos on it, but honestly, um, it's just nuts. So anyway, hope you have an awesome day.